Elizabeth Stitt of Joyful Parenting Coaching, talking today about how do we motivate our kids. The question initially came up in my middle school moms Facebook group as to whether or not we should pay kids for their grades. And really that's a question of motivation, because why would we pay them? To motivate them, probably. And in my blog last week, I answered that in one way. So one way that we get motivated, and this is true for us as adults and whatever we're doing, is that we attach the action that we need to take to a bigger vision for a bigger reason, right? Some of you may not absolutely love your jobs, but you know that the income that you get from your job is helping you to create a life, a house, health care, food on the table for your family. And it's that bigger vision. It's the, I get to take care of my family because they are the most important thing in the world to me. That is your motivation. So connecting your kids to their bigger vision is one way to help motivate them. Still, how do we motivate kids? This is like the million-dollar question every teacher on the planet would like to know. And when Carol Dweck of Stanford University came up with a structure, sort of with two terms, a growth mindset and a fixed mindset, she got us leaps and bounds closer to answering the question of how to motivate kids. So a fixed mindset is what scientists used to believe that our mind was. In other words, whatever you're born with at birth, the intelligence, the talent, the qualities and characteristics, that is what you're going to have, and that is who you are. We know now from the last 15, 20 years of neuroscience that the brain is plastic, that it continues to grow, that it's not just a fixed thing like a lump of clay, right? Rather, it's more like a tree with branches that can connect to each other, and they can grow twigs and leaves and become ever denser and more complex. So, given that that's true, that our brains are plastic, that they can continue to grow, how do we develop that growth mindset in children? And there are really two ways. One way is pretty cool because it's so simple. It's just explain to children what the growth mindset is, right? It's the belief that the actions that we take can get us closer to our goals, right? That we do not have a fixed amount of intelligence or talent or something else, but that with hard work and thoughtful practice, right, getting feedback and applying feedback, we can make progress to a new level. We can reach greater heights. We can essentially be smarter, have more talent or ability in a given area. So we explain that to kids. We tell them how the brain grows. We tell them one interesting thing I just love that was so powerful to my students was that at that moment when they are struggling, when they are on the edge of their learning, that is when their brain is doing the most growing, and there's the most chemical action, laying down new pathways in our brain. How cool is that? I love that. And kids do too, and they really respond to it like, oh, I'm having a hard time with this. My brain must be really growing right now. The other way that we can help kids to develop a growth mindset is through how we praise them. So, as particularly in the United States, we have gone to sort of, the pendulum has swung so far towards praising kids for every little thing they do that the effect of the praise is like cotton candy, right? Maybe it tastes good at first, but very rapidly it has no value, it's empty calories. Instead, we don't want to stop praising children, we want to continue to praise them, but we want to give them good, full grain, multi-grain, no added sugar kind of praise. What does that look like? We really do that in three areas. We praise kids' effort, improvement, and most importantly, strategy. right? So their effort. Wow, you practiced 20 extra minutes today beyond what your teacher required of you. I can hear the difference that makes to your playing. Improvement. The way that you played that passage was so much smoother than when you were playing it at the beginning of the week. You're really connecting the different parts of the piece now. Do you hear how concrete that is? And finally, strategy. And strategy is my favorite one because I think it's the one that we do the least. Strategy is to help identify the child. What did they do that led to their success, that enabled them to be successful? So, that might be something like starting at the last two measures of the piece and building backwards really helped you build to an emotional final, right? That working backwards in the piece rather than working forwards is a strategy. With writing, you might say something like, writing an outline before you got started has made this essay so much clearer and easier to read. Or using concrete quotes that support your thesis really make me believe your argument here. All of those are examples of strategies that a student used that enabled them to be successful. And why is it so powerful compared to, you're so smart, you're the best, you're so great, oh, that's such a pretty picture. What's powerful about it is that those three things, well, really, effort, improvement is something that comes as a result, right? But effort and strategy are two things that we can apply again. So if I was successful at using the strategy of writing an outline before I started to write my essay before, well, I can do that with every essay I go to write. And if practicing an extra 10 minutes has really at the end of the week made a big difference to how well I know my piece, that's a choice I can make in the future to continue to add extra practice time. When we have choice, we have control. And children love control. We love control. We love to feel empowered. We love to feel that the action that we're going to take is going to make a difference in the outcome. That's a very different stance than I'm only this smart, and no matter what I do, no matter how hard I work, I'm not going to get any smarter. And I don't know if I'm smart enough to do the task that's been given me, and I don't want to find out. If I'm not smart enough for it, I don't want to find out, and I don't want anyone else to find out. So I'm not going to try it. And in fact, Carol Dweck did this study, which just gives me goosebumps when I think about it. She had a group of children take an exam. At the end of the exam, as they were turning it in to the exam giver, the person taking the test either said, "Oh, you've done well. You must be so smart." Or, "Oh, you've done well. I can tell you worked really hard on this." Then the researchers sent the kids out to play for a while, have a little break, have a snack, whatever. And when they brought them back in, they said, "Now, we are going to give you another task, and this time you have a choice. You can choose a task which is about the same level as the task you did before, or you can choose to do a task which is harder, and at the same time it's going to be, I think you're going to enjoy it. It's going to be fun." So who chose which task? The children who had been told, "Oh, you're so smart. You must have done really well," chose the task which was at the same level that they had done before. Right? They knew they had done pretty well. They'd been told they had done well before. They chose that level. The children who had been told, "You've done well. You must have worked really hard," chose to do the harder task. Even though when the children had been screened ahead of time for their inherent growth mindset, that was not as important as the praise or the comment, the cotton candy praise, "You're so smart," or the full grain, cornbrot praise of you worked hard made this palpable difference in the choice that these kids made. Wow, that to me is incredibly exciting. It says so much about how what we say to our children can affect and to help to develop their internal motivation. Because at the end of the day, we don't want kids to choose to do the task to get us off their back, or even really for the grade. We want them to choose to do it because it feels challenging or interesting or linked to some bigger vision, some bigger reason, something that they're going to get. All right, this question of how to motivate kids, I know, is one that comes up a lot for parents. They get fearful. You know, my child's so lazy, my child doesn't do this, my child doesn't work as hard as he could. I know my child's bright, he's not performing to his level. Think about how praising your kids with a growth mindset can help to develop that internal motivation. I have an ebook on the topic to help support you in learning those concrete skills. So go ahead and sign up for that, and leave any comments or questions that you have below. I would love to hear from you. Elizabeth Stitt, Joyful Parenting Coaching.